YouTube, welcome back. We've been chatting about the last Epoch 1.0 patch notes for about 4.5 hours. I might have my thoughts together for you, but we're going to chat with you and with Twitch chat live and go over some of the highlights and share my thoughts on this. I started recording like the entire talk through, the entire walkthrough of these patch notes, and it got to the 4.5 hour mark, and I'm very excited for Gathering Storm. For Healing Hands, those skill trees are both on lastepochtools.com and on the Maxwell Planner. Those skill trees look awesome. They're so much fun. The new unique items, very, very fun. There's a couple things in the patch notes that I would like to draw your attention to. I am not going to go over the whole thing because there's a lot. And you don't need that. You don't need that. If you've been keeping up on my YouTube videos or on other content creators or on the forum.lastepoch.com dev posts, you already know a lot of this stuff. You already know about Falcon and Warlock. We're not going to talk about those things. You already know about Circle of Fortune and Merchants Guild, and you already agree with me that Circle of Fortune's better. You've seen what resonances do. You know what the cycles and the full offline mode do. We've been talking about the dev responses to full offline mode. I was curious to know how I should present this, but it seems like the right answer is if you're playing full offline mode, go ham. If you want to use an item editor or install mods, I don't know if there are mods yet, but there's probably going to be mods at some day because for offline games, that's what people like doing. So that's, go ham, have fun with that. Full controller support. It does seem like they have full controller support. The people who play on controllers seem to enjoy it. So that seems good for you controller gamers out there. Scene variants, lighting, 2D cinematics. If you care about those, you can read about those by yourself. Things that I would like to draw your attention to. Let's go Endgame rebalance. I'm going to go to Monolith of Fates, Blessing, Corruption Scaling. Anything else here? No, just Corruption Scaling. Let's go like this. Let's read. There is a problem in Last Epoch that we've talked about a lot in the past. Let's rehash that problem. And then describe how this change seeks to address that problem. The problem is, if you tell me that your build can kill a 1,000 corruption or Shade of Erebus, 1,000 corruption is a lot. If you tell me that, I literally don't know anything about how strong your build is. Because currently in Last Epoch, the relative difficulty of corruption comes from the modifiers, and it does not come from the corruption number. So if you have no modifiers and 1,000 corruption, you're fighting just a normal boss and nothing matters. Which, as an aside, if you're a content creator out there, please don't hide the modifiers when you're killing a boss, because it's really helpful to me to know what's going on. In any case, all right, so here's what's going on. These changes are intended to allow for faster progression of the monolith. That's cool. Change the corruption to scale it more quickly. Things will be harder, faster. If you want shorthand for this, the new 300 corruption is going to be the old 500 corruption. So everything is getting harder, faster, and that's wonderful. They are, let's see, monolith rewards, monolith mod scaling is what I was just talking about a moment ago. Monolith mod values are now static, and they no longer scale up with corruption. The duration now scales up to a maximum of 3, so you're only going to have 3 modifiers in Echo instead of 6 modifiers in Echo. So there's some invisible stuff. We don't care about this. This does matter to you. Monolith Echo modifiers are changing. So like instead of armor shred chance going up to 400% chance, it's capped at 35% chance. Instead of elemental damage, monsters deal increased elemental damage. Instead of this scaling up to 700%, it's now static at 25%. And what this means is the relative danger of the Echo that you're in comes less from the modifiers and comes more from the corruption scaling itself. So that'll be a good change for like you and me communicating with each other, you and your buddy communicating with each other. The relative strength of your build is a really good change for the community. I'm very happy with this. Dungeons, campaign, nothing here. Gameplay experience, offline. Parry. We want to talk about parry. This is perhaps the most important thing that's been added to the game ever. Good. So parry is now in the game. Frankly, it is kind of underpowered right now. If you take a look at the build planners that have been updated, you'll see that parry chance has been added. And parry rolls on weapons and also not bows, so like melee stuff. And it goes up to like 12% chance. And I don't think there's any other source of it. So you can't get much parry chance right now. Parry is a defensive mechanic that grants a chance to negate all damage taken from a hit. It doesn't negate damage over time. And it does count as being hit for purposes of like, have you been hit recently? For like dodge-based, rogue-based stuff. So it's a new defensive mechanic. I love that it's there. It's pretty good. What excites me about parry is not the fact that I'm going to use it in a future build, but I'm excited that it is a defensive mechanic. I want more defensive mechanics so that I have an opportunity cost of selecting this one instead of this one or this one because it fits my build. I want more of this. I want unique items that have parry chance on them. I want more affixes. I want maybe like a reworked Forge Guard Mastery that has parry in it because he's the guy that maybe parries or something. Man, saying my name over and over, it just makes me so happy. Let's go on to the next thing here. Stun avoidance. It's technically not garbage, but we're not going to talk about it. I don't think there's anything else in other mechanics. Yeah, there's nothing else here that stood out to me, so I'm going to skip that altogether. What was here? There are some skills that look like they lost a lot of damage, but my joke is if you take infinite damage and you remove 33% of it, it's still very good. Things that fall into that category are like a Simple Abomination. It lost damage, but it also did insane damage in the past. So if you want to play a Simple Abomination, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Other things are like Summon Wraith. Flame Wraith is a popular build. It's been like lauded as the strongest build in the game by people like me. It's insane. It lost 20% cast speed. It also lost like 180% increased damage. And the LP level of the staff that it uses went up. But like, it was like infinite damage. It's still good. If you want to play Flame Wraiths for some reason and you haven't played it in the past, yes, Flame Wraiths is still a good build. What else matters for this? Let's go Summon Skeletal Mage real quick, because there's something that I wanted to call out for this. Summon Skelly Mages have been changed. There's a build that I like. It's Skelly Mage Sacrifice. If you've ever seen my 13 video, and you're watching here live in chat, you can go !13. Skelly Mage Sacrifice has been updated to no longer use the word sacrifice, and instead it uses Profane Ablation, which is the exact same skill, except it deals 75% more damage. And instead of dealing physical damage, it deals necrotic damage. Both of those things are good, because 75 is a lot more than 0, which is very good. And dealing necrotic damage is nice, because most of you added damage to necrotic damage anyways, so you can have all of your damage scaling in the same direction. This build is already good, and adding 75% more damage is enticing. So, that's cool. It's great. Love it. Let's see, mage skills. Anything else we care about here? There's some stuff that I'm breezing over, but the point of this video is to breeze, so... Arcane Sentence, Disintegrate, Fireball, Frostclaw. Frostclaw is interesting because it's going to be part of the beginner builds that I recommend to people. It was been giga strong in the past, and it's arguably better now than it's ever been. So Frostclaw remains excellent. No concern with this. One of the things that I hated about Frostwall in the past as a Rune Master build, or anything else, but Frostwall allowed you to have permanent Flame Ward, and they've made a change to the Frostwall. You can view this on yourself. Frostwall seems like it will share a cooldown with, what is it? It's like you're going to share a cooldown with your Flame Ward on a 12-second cooldown, is that it? Gives it a 12-second cooldown, which is shared with Flame Ward. So hopefully, because I hate permanent Flame Ward, hopefully permanent Flame Ward is no longer a thing because of this change right here. That's good. Stuff. Rune Bolts now feels less like garbage to use, which I think is an excellent boon in quality of life, because it just had really slow base attack speed before, and now it's been fixed. There's some nodes in Runic Invocation that didn't function in the past, and now they do function in the future. Remember, Rune Master had an issue where any source of elemental penetration was 7 times stronger than it was supposed to be. So like maybe your builds feel like they're missing damage or something because you used to have 7 times more penetration than you used to. So there's a bunch of bug fixes for Rune Master. I think Rune Master is in a very good spot. Notable for Rune Master for Runic Invocations is CFC. If you are asking me what CFC is, make sure you type in !CFC. That's not CFC. CFC like this. CFC is Rowan's Frost Guard. It is virtually unchanged, which is a little strange to me because it was real fucking strong in the past, and now it's been pretty much untouched. So if you want to play any of those builds that I played in the past, or many of the other people played in the past, not using Runic Invocation for damage, but rather using it for defense, those defenses are very much so intact, strangely enough. Speaking of Runic Invocations, Plasma Orb is something that I would already call S tier, and somehow it does more damage than it did in the past. This is not 40% more damage. Okay, it is, but most Plasma Orb builds are focusing on like the small hits of like the little lightning tendrils that shoot out. This is, it's damage, it's good, but it's not literally 40% more damage because your orb is only hitting periodically as opposed to like the little lightning tendrils, which hit much more often. Hydra Hedron got a big nerf down here, 25% less damage. The targeting got changed. The unique item that goes along with Hydra Hedron got changed as well. The cast speed and the area overlap or something like that went down as well. So Hydra Hedron got nerfed in a couple different ways. It's probably still playable because it used to be totally insane and now it's just been nerfed. But frankly, if you're interested in this from a sweaty try-hard perspective, I would encourage you instead to go for a Plasma Orb setup, because Plasma Orb was already really good, and it somehow got buffed, as opposed to Hydra Hedron, which got nerfed in a couple different ways. Let's go to Primalist skills. Let's see, is there anything that we care about here? Most Primalist skills got updated because of Gathering Storms, and Gathering Storms maybe, perhaps, maybe, is my most exciting part of the patch. Gathering Storm looks fucking awesome with all the different things you can do for it. So if you're playing a druid or a shaman or even a beastmaster, I would consider taking a look at Gathering Storm and seeing whether it overlaps with some part of the build that you want to play. Somebody in Twitch chat is saying that squirrels got hit hard. Squirrels used to be bugged for their entire existence, where the line of text that said squirrels deal 45% less damage never worked. So now they've been nerfed as a bug fix, which is hilarious. As I said before, builds that have infinite damage, that lose 35% of their damage, are still very, very good. So squirrels are, to no one's surprise, still very, very good. What else are we doing? Maelstrom, Summon Bear. Summon Bear used to have a build with Retaliate Bear. Retaliate Bear now has a 1-second cooldown. I think Retaliate Bear is no longer a thing. Good. I hate Retaliate builds. What else is here? Rogue skills, Acid Flask, Ballista, Cinder Strike, Dancing Strikes. Pretty much nothing that you don't already know about. Shadow Daggers got nerfed by 24%, but like, there's still Shadow Daggers. If you want to play Shadow Daggers as a brand new build, especially if you're a new player, you're going to have fun. You're going to crush the entire game. I think the meta impact of the Shadow Dagger nerf is basically unfelt. I anticipate that it'll be unfelt, and I anticipate that it'll end up being a good change. Because if you nerf something that's Giga Strong, and it ends up not mattering, that's probably a good nerf. Ballista seems like a great build. I anticipate seeing a lot of Ballista gamers. For Sentinels, the most exciting thing for me about this is twofold. One is the introduction of Healing Hands. Healing Hands is a skill that Paladin will have access to. Everyone else will have access to it too, because you only need 5 points in the Paladin skill tree. And there seem to be lots and lots of different things that you can do with it. It kind of connects with a bunch of different skills. Similar to Gathering Storm, it sounds awesome. The rest of these skills, nothing really stands out to me. Rive is good. I said there's a twofold thing here. Rive is interesting because there's a node called Scrap Metal. If you follow my content, you know that there's a VK Rive build. In Twitch chat, you can go !Rive if you want to see exactly what this is. That Rive build got buffed because now you can take a node that consumes the forged weapons that you would otherwise generate, and you get more armor and more Rive damage out of it, which sounds just splendid to me. Love it. Anything else here? Nope, not really. Passive changes for stuff. There were people around social media clamoring for nerfs to low life. Rogue got no nerf to low life. Primalist did get a nerf to low life. Instead of 100% more damage, you only have 75% more damage for going low life. And instead of 25% less damage taken, it's 20% less damage taken. 20% less damage taken. Which is to say, virtually unchanged, by the way. Speaking of Gathering Storm in the world of Primalist, the Gathering Storm Shaman stuff in the mastery looks awesome, and it excites me. Moving on, new unique items. We saw a couple of these already. There's like 3 or 4 that we could have talked about, that we could talk about. New uniques, unique items. There's the helmet. Somewhere in here is the helmet. Yeah, let's hover over this one real quick. David Harbour is like the guy from Stranger Things. This is David Harbour's Wraith Lord Harbour, his helmet. Our idea for this, you can read this in your own time and find out what it does. But the idea that we came up with in Twitch chat was to play a 2 Wraith build where like you limit your maximum Wraiths to 2, and then you summon like a bunch of skeletons, and like skeletons, when they die, they resummon more skeletons. So hopefully that actually works. And then like some skeleton vanguards whenever minions or whenever enemies die around you. It's just like anything that causes some kind of non-Wraith minion to spawn. And then you play this basically the same way that you would play like Summon Abomination or solo Archmage, Skelly Mage, kind of like that, but you end up having 2 mages, or sorry, two minions. So this is an interesting helmet, and I look forward to playing with it because I don't know. I feel like solo minion builds are a lot less annoying than big other minion builds. This is not a high priority for me, but it sounds cool, so you know, I'd mess around with it. Let's keep going. A bunch of new base items. The things about base items that you should know is that a bunch of them have flat armor that is much higher than you would otherwise expect. So as you peruse the new belts and gloves belts and gloves and boots, take a look at the base armor values and look at how high those goes, because some of them are quite high. There's some new weapons that have been added that are faction-specific items. I don't have much of an input on that. All of the faction-specific items that you can get from the Faction Gambler seem to be things that are stepping stones into endgame content rather than stuff that you want to use in endgame build, which is good because that was their stated goal for introducing these items to the game. They specifically said, we don't want these to be endgame. We want the real endgame items to come from dropped enemies, and it seems like that is definitely going to be the case. Cool. Base items, boots, gloves, class items. Peruse these. A lot of people have been asking about loot filters. What loot filters do I need? Does anything need to be updated? And the things that I would want to know most is like what new affixes exist that I should be sorting for, that I should be filtering for, so that I can get them early and often and put them in my build. For whatever build you're playing, take a look on these class items. On the affixes down here. That's what I meant to say. Take a look at the class affixes down here and see if there's something that overlaps with the build that you're interested in playing. Because class affixes are very often the kinds of things that really tie a build together. What else is here? I guess for class items we can talk about briefly. I haven't done this yet because I'm a little bit tired, but instead of going like this and reading text about everything that's listed here, what I intend to do, and what I should have done already, is go to something like lastepochtools.com, pop open one of each of these, like pop open a Forge Guard, pop open a Spellblade, pop open a Shaman, and just see what base types exist. Which of these are here? We see that like for Sentinel, for example, the highest armor, holy shit, I did not look at this ahead of time, did I? The highest armor used to be 550. The highest armor is 700? Yeah, all right, cool. Live reaction. You got it. That's a lot of fucking armor, dude. Holy moly, that's a lot of armor. Yeah, so what I would recommend you do is exactly what I just did. Pop open the helmets, pop open the body armor, and just scroll down and see like what are the 5 or 6 highest level base types, and evaluate which of those you would ideally be using in one of your builds. Holy moly, that's a lot of armor. Let's keep scrolling. Enemy adjustments, doesn't matter. Cosmetics, love them, doesn't matter. General bug fixes, there were a lot of bug fixes that we went through. I kind of started glazing over as I was reading these. A lot of them don't matter much. Just like tooltips updated. Lots of tooltips have been updated. Nothing that comes to mind right now. I think we're good. Is that it? Is that it? That's all they got? Only 5 hours of chatting about patch notes summarized into a short video for you to digest? What can I say except I'm tired? Okay, let's call it quits for that. If you have any questions or comments on the review of the patch notes here, or if you think that there's something really cool and interesting that I completely skipped over, let me know in the comments and we can chat about it. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, when I release a new video talking about the beginner builds that I'm recommending for 1.0. Sounds good. See you then.